All right, we're live. So we're going to give it just a second while the room fills up. I see you pouring in, participants. Hello, good evening. So we're going to give this just a couple seconds for the room to get comfortable. So grab a blanket, grab your beverage of choice, and we're going to get started here. Okie dokie. Hello, let's do this. Welcome everyone to our little virtual event space. My name is Allie and I am your host for this evening. And I am so excited to be introducing Lisa Levine in conversation with Nicole Brodeur, here to discuss Lisa's new book, Midlife, No Crisis. So before we get into the fun stuff, I just want to quickly thank you all so much for tuning in, for showing up, and of course, as always, for buying books. Your support is what keeps this place going, and we really love what we do. So if you also love what we do, we would so appreciate it if you swing by and grab some copies. Or if you're not local, we do ship. Shipping is just $3.50 for the first book and then $1 for every book after that. And I will be linking the book in the chat so it will be easy for everyone to find. While you are over on our website, I definitely recommend checking out some of our other upcoming events or sign up for our newsletter. It's just a weekly update about events and exciting releases on our online book clubs, which have been really fun. And of course, you can follow us on any of our major social media platforms. We are at Third Place Books for the quickest updates and recommendations. And, you know, we do have a pretty good time on our social media. So definitely go check that out, see if there's anything over there for you. So we are here for about an hour. And towards the end, we will be taking questions. So if you have any questions, which I very much hope that you do, go ahead and leave those in the Q&A box, which is different than the chat box. I see that some of you have discovered the chat already, which we love to see. The chat is great for virtual applause and connecting with each other, but when it comes time to ask questions, make sure that those end up in the Q&A, which should be at the top or the bottom of your screen, depending on your device, just so that we can find your questions more easily. And with that, I believe that is all of my housekeeping. So without further ado, I am so thrilled to introduce Lisa Levine, a certified life and health coach, as well as a certified nutrition expert who believes that wellness is a partnership between body, mind, and spirit. She helps women who are approaching midlife to create new and healthy habits in the way they think, eat, sleep, and move, empowering them to live their lives fully and audaciously. Her book, Midlife No Crisis, aims to help change your perspective on aging, create a life for who you are today, make time for healthy habits, dream audaciously, and chart a course for the next stage of life. In conversation tonight, I am so happy to welcome former Seattle Times columnist Nicole Brodeur, who has more than 20 years of experience in conceiving, researching, reporting, and writing news and human interest stories and opinion columns. So thank you both so much for being here. I am so excited to be a fly on the wall this evening. If you need anything, give me a shout. I will be listening. That goes for everyone in the audience as well. I will be in the chat just in case you need anything. And I'm going to leave you in their capable hands. So don't forget to throw your questions in the Q&A. And with that, welcome, both of you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Allie.
Allie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All set to go. Okay,
Hi, Nicole.
Lisa.
Hi, Nick.
Honey. Were we gonna? Okay, I just want to first say I'm so happy to be here. I'm so proud of you. You are a dear friend and a dear person, and one of those people. You always smell good, and you always have good advice. And I am so happy to be talking to you about this wonderful book. So congratulations on Midlife No Crisis. I'm not the only one here cheering you on. Your mom, Pat Bennett, is here, I hope. We already know Cheryl Waters is here. There's so many great people that we love. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us, because we're just tickled. So happy.
Yes.
To be here.
Thank you all for coming. And Nicole, there's no one I'd rather chat with about my book than you.
Thank you.
I mean, from the minute I met you, I felt like I already knew you. You bring out the Philly girl in me, which I adore. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here, and happy, always excited to talk about Midlife No Crisis and anything in the realm of midlife. It is one of my passion topics.
Great. Yes. So I just want, for those of you who haven't gotten the book, you can still get it at Third Place and Third Place. That's the only place we're going to send people tonight. I just want to read the back of the book. It says, don't dread midlife, embrace it. You have the power to make this new stage of your life the best one yet. Life and health coach Lisa Levine provides easy, actionable advice to help you let go of what's holding you back and become the best version of yourself. Packed with humor, inspirational quotes, and practical tools, Midlife No Crisis encourages to use this transformative time to practice self-care, cultivate positive habits, and overcome fears so that you can start living the awesome life you deserve. Wonderful.
Amen to that.
Amen.
I have to say, in addition to all of that, because you guys might not have the book, what you can't see is the book is also really beautiful. It's the design is incredible. I want to give a big shout out to Indelible Editions, because they're the ones who made this book as beautiful as it is. So there's an inspirational quotes, and it lends itself really well to bite-sized bits of personal empowerment and just enthusiasm. You know, it can kind of help you turn around your attitude.
It really is. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the book came together. And she, by the way, she packs all that into this. It's amazing. But there's a lot of good stuff in here. And we talked a little bit about how to read the book and how to use it, which I think is wonderful. It's even got pages for notes in the background. So anyway, let's get going. So I wanted to mention too that you have a company, or you're a life coach. It's Audacious Wellness.
Correct. That is correct. It's Audacious Wellness. You can find me online at audaciouswellness.com.
Okay.
And where in fact, the book was born from my blog. So there's lots of musings and things on there that are in the same vein, where I talk about not just stuff about midlife, although lots of stuff about midlife, but also things that you can do at any age to feel connected to yourself, to your life, to be, again, to sort of initiate that body, mind, and spirit partnership of wellness. That is what wellness is to me. It is a partnership.
Okay, so talk to me about, I have two questions. One is, what is living audaciously? Let's start with that. And then the other question coming out of that is, the book came together from what you were hearing from your clients. So I just talk to me about living audaciously, and then let's talk about how the book came together from your work. Yeah.
So audacious is really what it really means is taking risks, taking bold risks, being sassy, being not necessarily following the rules. And as women, we are so trained to follow the rules and to be good girls. So I decided that being audacious, which, by the way, means different things to different people. What might feel audacious and risky to me might not be the same thing for you. You know, I'm probably not, I have a cousin who heli skis. That's audacious for her. That's just not on the docket for me. You know what I mean? It's different for everyone. But, specifically, I love the word audacious, but it's also it's become a little bit in response to aging gracefully, because I feel like that is something that is, where did that even come from, and what does that even mean? To me, that implies be quiet and be a good girl, and don't bother us with your aging stuff. So audacious is kind of in response to aging audaciously, is kind of in response to aging gracefully. And I like grace as much as the next person, but I really want to question where that came from. It feels a little bit like it might have come from the patriarchy. I'm not quite sure, but we don't need to get into all of that.
We don't say that name. We don't say that word around here.
We don't say that word. But living audaciously is about stepping into what might feel initially uncomfortable, but potentially on your bucket list, things you want to do that why aren't I doing that? And would it feel audacious to step into that? But also, being audacious is really stepping into your full power as a human, right? And that's why, for me, living audaciously is not just about doing things. It's about the way you're thinking. It's also about the way you're feeling in your body, right? So an audacious response to aging is to be taking care of your body by making sure you're eating the foods that fuel your body, that your body loves, drinking enough water, moving your body, and you can add audacity into the way that you move. Maybe, maybe you really feel like jumping on a trampoline. That's like, that's a whole new, there's a whole bunch of different exercise classes that you can do, rebounding, and that might feel audacious, and, go for it. So audacious is really like wellness. It's body, mind, and spirit. And as far as how I got to those tips and working with my clients, I do get a lot of my information from my clients, but I also got a lot of information from my own experience, because, I went through what felt like, it felt like a crisis to me when I was around 48, when I suddenly started getting more of a sense of, wait, what is this all about? Like, I don't want to talk about meaningless BS. I want to talk about the universe. I want to talk about stuff that's important. I don't want to waste any more time. Like, how did I even get here? Like, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm 48, but I still feel like I'm 24. I feel like I'm 30, 32. I feel like all the ages, but I'm 48. And I see now that there's actually an exit ramp, an expiration date. And how do I want to make this meaningful? How do I want to feel? So that's really where most of the stuff came from. And it was, I recognized that it was a universal thing, because I would then have clients that would come to me and say things that really resonated. And I was like, yeah, I totally understand that, having been there myself. And it turns out that it really is a universal thing. There've been lots of books written about it, and something about hitting that 50 mark, although it really can happen. When I turned 50, my sister said, thank God you turned 50. You've been turning 50 for like 2 years, because it really did start for me at 48 when I started to do all the questioning. But it turns out that search for meaning, and that how did I get here, and what do I really want, and how do I want to feel is a common thing.
So let's talk about just a few of the common threads that you found running through your conversations with clients, and what were some of the common things, but what are some of the things that they wanted from this life? And I really love that you mentioned, there feels like there's an expiration date, or time is passing, because you do feel that way. Like, I can still walk well, and I can still walk for 5 miles. I should go to Italy. Like, you feel like you're still capable of doing things. And, you have this, we're kind of in this magic bubble of time, ability, and income for some people, where they can do things they've always wanted to do. So talk to me about what your clients told you, and what themes did you see in those conversations?
Yeah. So one common thing, for instance, if you've been in the same career for a long time, I'll get a lot of people who say, like, I don't necessarily love what I'm doing, but I've been doing it for so long, I'm completely unqualified to do anything else. I can never change. I'm stuck here. And so starting to coach around that, and noticing the possibilities, and noticing the things that you're really good at, and how you got to the place that you got in your job. And just, it's different for every person. We're all different, but that's a common theme. Another common theme is, if you've been home raising kids, suddenly you realize your kids are going off to, go do their own thing. And you're like, oh my God, I have no idea how to get back into the work world. I'm not qualified to do anything. I'm too old to start all over again. I don't know what to do. Some people will say, a common theme for women at this age is, I want to lose weight. I can't lose weight. My metabolism is stuck. And honestly, that is a whole other conversation, because our metabolism does slow down as we post on the other side of menopause. But sometimes, and not everybody likes to hear the answers to that, which is, you have to change. If you want things to be different, then you have to make some changes. And, we get really stuck in these comfortable ruts, and we don't want to change. We're creatures of comfort. We're creatures of habit. And so there's this, that I think it was Einstein, or it's quoted as saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so I like to remind my clients of that. And it's like, it's time to try something new. And so depending on what their situation is and what their individual diets are, we'll make some changes that can impact that. So those are 3 really common themes. And then again, another one actually is that search for deeper meaning. Like, I want to make a difference. I want to do something that makes a difference. Like, how I know I'm not here just for this. And so we explore that as well.
Okay. While we're here and talking about those changes, we have 2 people wondering about going vegan and making those kind of changes, or trying, they're married to meat eaters and they want to make small changes. So I would say something I do is I make a meatless meal once or twice a week, purposely.
Yeah.
And
Meatless Mondays.
Yeah.
Meatless Mondays started for a reason. There's so many good reasons to at least lessen the amount of meat that you eat. I think that going vegan, personally, the way I look at it is that it's not right for everyone. It's right for some people, but it's not right for everyone. However, we could all, even if we do eat meat, we could eat less meat.
Mhm.
I think I just read that Epicurious, which is one of my favorite websites to go to for recipes, is taking all of their red meat recipes offline. They're not going to
Oh,
be
that's
doing
right.
any more
Yeah, I saw.
red meat.
No, it was Bon Appetit, was it? Or
Well, that's part of Epicurious.
oh, okay.
That's the
got it.
website is Epicurious, but it's Bon Appetit and Gourmet. And I thought that was really interesting. It is, again, each situation is different. And if you were married to a meat eater and you didn't want to eat meat and you didn't feel like cooking 2 meals a day, then you would certainly have the option to say, guess what, tonight I'm not cooking for you. You get to go do your own thing.
Yay!
You don't have to. You do have options. So many times we feel stuck and we think we have to do something or we should do something. And once you start to question, well, says who? And do I really have to? I really don't have to. That can be incredibly liberating too.
I wanted to get to we talked about some of the joys of midlife. So much of it is like worrying about one thing or another, or making change, or jumping into the unknown. But there's also some stuff to celebrate about being older and, not just giving a crap anymore about so many things. So can you talk a little bit about that? It's not always turmoil. Sometimes it's other things. Talk about some of that. And I know that you have a section of the book.
I do have a section in the book, and I will tell you. So
do you want to just read from it, or whatever you want to do?
Yeah, sure. I will. So I'm talking about some truths to help us change our perspective in midlife. So you might need reading glasses, but you're infinitely clearer on your needs and who you are. You know your strengths and weaknesses. You know what you like and what you don't like. You know who your friends are. You know which shoes will hurt your feet, and you know how to ask for directions. All true. Your I don't give a crap filter is much more efficient. So you can comfortably go to the grocery store with no makeup on, stay in your yoga clothes all day long, even if you miss the actual class, and skip going to the party. Oh, remember parties? Skip going to the party on Saturday night because you're really not in the mood for small talk. You speak your mind, you recognize that no can be a complete sentence, and what people think doesn't really matter. You realize your some days have an expiration date and you don't want to waste another day. You question what items are on your bucket list and you decide when, not if, you're actually going to do them. You recognize that your health is the key to an active future in a way that might not have been obvious when you were younger. You pursue activities that have deeper meaning instead of being motivated by the fear of missing out. I just want to say too, one interesting thing is when you go back and you start to look at your bucket list and you realize, I don't really need that on there anymore. Like, you know what? I don't care if I go there. Like, I'd rather do this. You start to weed things out. It's actually really cool. You have more time, knowledge, and resources to do the things that bring you joy. So hello, afternoons curled up, cozily reading, not locking the bedroom door, guilt-free girlfriend getaways, and signing up for tango lessons, wine club, book group, and improv class, that master gardening course, etc. And finally, so the bottom line in this, what I was talking about with the perks, is when you pay attention to your overall attitude about aging, it's incredibly impactful. And so when you start to question long-held beliefs that might not be true, we can flip the lens on how we view aging, and it will be easier to age beautifully, healthfully, and holistically. But so that is part of it. So all the perks of midlife, remembering those and focusing on those, as opposed to, oh my God, I'm turning gray. It's really hard with Zoom to not be constantly going like this all the time.
I know we were doing it before, like, how do I look? Just pay no attention to the woman up in the corner,
Totally. But you get to focus on focus on the positive. I'm a big fan of that because we get to choose the lens that we look at life through. We get to choose. And so, anytime you can flip your perspective to something that feels better, I say do it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And on the subject of this, I just want to say that as women, we really need to stop beating each other up for the choices that we make, right? I mean, like some people want to color their hair, some people don't. Some people want to get a facelift, some people don't. I don't care what you do. I just want to know, I want you to be clear on why you're doing it and who you're doing it for.
Okay.
I think that's really important. So there you go. That's
Okay.
Step off the soapbox.
No, it's all fine. So let's talk a little more about this book, which I want to just, can you talk about how it's put together? Because it has, it's just in these nice little, we talked about nice little small bites that you like to say that. And I have your recommendation, kept it on my nightstand, and I do pick it up, or I look at it when I'm drinking coffee in the morning or something. And you can flip to any page and there's something wonderful, but how best to use this book?
Yeah, so the whole idea about midlife, no crisis, is that when you do feel like you're in crisis, like anytime you feel, oh my God, I'm stuck, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, I'm just gonna sit on the couch and eat, cheese curls and watch reruns and watch, Outlander on repeat or whatever. When you feel stuck like that and overwhelmed, the last thing you want is like a giant Bible to tell you. You don't want a lot of instructions. You don't want it to be complicated. You want it to be simple. The more simple, the better. So the idea that these chapters are small and bite-sized is deliberate, so that when you, like you said, when you pick it up, there you can read 3 pages and you can go, okay, I can do this one thing. You can pick one thing to do. It helps to cut back on the overwhelm and make you feel like you can actually make some change. The smaller, the better. What my mentor in life coaching is Dr. Martha Beck. And she talks about how when you're in that meltdown phase, that overwhelm phase, well, actually, let me back up. She talks about there's 4 stages of human metamorphosis, and it's in conjunction with the caterpillar and the butterfly. And when the caterpillar creates a cocoon, it does so not so that it goes in there and just sort of sprouts wings and then climbs out and flies away. It goes into its cocoon and it fully melts down into DNA goop, something I never knew until I learned this from her. And so then it melts down, and then what it does, the next phase is it starts to reform. And so out of the DNA goop, it starts to turn itself into what becomes a butterfly or a moth or whatever. And then it has to climb out of the cocoon and fly away. So there's the first stage is the meltdown. The second stage is what we call dreaming and scheming. That's when you're reforming. And the third stage is the hero's journey. That's the taking off. And the fourth stage is home. But the first stage is when you might feel like you're in a midlife crisis. And so to continue with that metaphor of a cocoon, the idea is being in there and letting yourself melt down, letting it be. It's uncomfortable, and we hate being uncomfortable, right? We fight against it. But when you're in that meltdown phase, lean into it. Do what you might do as a caterpillar, like cocoon, grab some blankets, snuggle up, small moves. Keep it. Another metaphor is to keep it in mouse view instead of hawk view, right? Just small steps, just what needs to happen right now, what's right in front of you, versus freaking ourselves out and going, oh my God, what's the big picture? My whole life is falling apart, I have to fix everything. That, just the idea of that is overwhelming. So keeping it small, and this book goes really well in the cocoon, because when you're in there, you can start to take little bits out and go, okay, I can do this. What's my next indicated step? Read 3 pages of the book, see how you feel, and move on. It will give you very clear instructions too, to also focus, instead of how do I fix this, what do I do? Asking yourself, how do I want to feel? And what would I need to do in order to feel the way I want to feel?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit, and we're going to go to questions in about 10 minutes. So I wanted to get in a couple of other things. You talked about making lists, like I want to leave people tonight, and we can talk some more, but I just wanted to be sure to get in just some, it's not so much homework, but just some, we love to make lists and we love to be efficient and we love to come away with something. And, until people can get their hands on the book, I wanted to give them just a few homework is what I'm going to say. So talk to me about, give us one or two exercises that we can take away with us tonight.
Well, so one of the biggest parts about having the life you want is paying attention and being awake in the life that you're in, right? And noticing what's actually happening, because so much of the time we think stuff. Basically, just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. So starting to pay attention to what you're thinking and noticing it, because we just kind of walk around blind. When we stop and pay attention to what our thoughts are, then we have the power to start to change them. And your signal to do that, or how to do that, is to notice how you're feeling, because your feelings are actually coming from your thoughts, not the other way around. So stopping and paying attention to how you're noticing how you're feeling and what you're thinking. The other thing, what?
What does that mean, though? I mean, when did we have time to do that? I mean, you go for walks and, we all have one kind of meditation or another, especially since we've been home for a year. We don't really, I hope that we know what we're thinking, but it just doesn't feel like a normal time. But then maybe it's the perfect time to, think and reflect, and then when we emerge from this time, to really start anew and start something fresh. So when you talk about be aware of how you're feeling and what you're thinking, when does that happen? I mean, it can happen anytime, but
you're right.
Context.
Good question. So setting aside some time for reflection, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. And you can do this in a number of different ways. If you don't want to just start to dive right in and question your thoughts, start to, I know this is said all the time, but creating a gratitude practice is huge, because when you're in gratitude, you really can't be in fear at the same time.
Right.
So, whether you do it first thing in the morning or last thing at night, noticing 3 to 5 things that you feel grateful about in that day. And it could be anything from the health of your children to the cup of coffee that you had in the morning, that first sip of coffee. It could be anything. What are you grateful for? And then when you're thinking about it, really feel it for that moment. Really feel the gratitude. Don't just write it down and check it off. Go there and feel it for, 60 seconds if you can. The more we can train our brains to stick to that gratitude, the easier it'll be to go there. We are trained, our brains are wired to actually go to the negative and not the positive, because negative, it's called the negativity bias. And if we go there, then it's like an old, from that old reptilian part of our brain that wants to keep us safe. It's like, don't go to there again, watch out for that. Instead of doing that, retraining your brain to start to go to the positive more easily. It's not that you'll stop going to the negative, it's just that it'll be easier to switch out of that mode and into gratitude. So that's one thing.
The same things on the same list every day.
I would encourage you to try to find different things. I mean, you may always be grateful for the health of your children and your family, and that's fine, and go there. But I would encourage you to start to find different things. It could be, like I said, it could be anything. But, the lilacs you saw today, the sunset you saw, the fact that it didn't rain, the fact that it did rain, whatever it is. So gratitude is one good way. Another thing is to start to, whatever you can do to trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. So your parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite of stress. And we're in stress all the time now, between, and with the technology, it's even more, because we've got dings and beeps and, we're checking our email, we're checking all the things, and we got to go here. I don't know about you, but when the pandemic hit last year, and there was in that first 6 weeks, I felt guiltily relieved that I didn't have to be anywhere. I noticed I was sleeping better than I hadn't forever, because there were no shoulds. I knew exactly what was expected of me, which was to stay home, and I did. And that was, it was kind of a relief. But anything we can do to trigger that parasympathetic, and it can be, yes, meditation, although so many people that I know say, I can't meditate, I suck at meditation, my mind is too busy, I've tried it, I hate it, I would say back it up and even just create a pausing practice. even also just like when you put your hand on your heart, that the act of doing that actually triggers your parasympathetic nervous system. Like you can almost feel that it's kind of relaxing.
Mhm.
And so putting your hand on your heart and taking 3 deep breaths it can be a little mini reboot. It's one of my favorite coaching tools that I share with everybody. And how does that help you be more audacious? Well, it helps you to calm down and get present. And in order to sort of plot your audacious course, you want to climb back into the life you're in. And then the last one that I'll say is bearing in mind that we live so much in our heads, we're constantly in our heads, we forget to be in our bodies. And so creating a practice of climbing back into your body in the morning when you wake up, before you get out of bed, even taking a couple breaths again, and then just literally doing like a little body scan. I feel my feet, I feel my legs, I feel my knees, I feel my thighs, maybe not that quickly, a little more slowly. And you're really just climbing back into your actual body so that when you put your feet on the floor, you're in a different headspace when you start your day. You're starting your day more intentionally, more grounded, and much more present. So I think that too is a really great beginning step for feeling more audacious.
Good.
For sure.
I have one comment here, and please send questions. I have one question from Kim Malcolm. Thank you, Kim. But please send some more questions. So one woman, Stephanie, says, I've been practicing gratitude and reflection a lot this year. I'm tired, seriously. It feels forced and like an obligation sometimes. And I get that. I mean, when you do it every day, but you're giving us some other ways to do that, to feel your body and to, it's not always gratitude. It's just, the other thing that we talked about was the list of 5 things that you believe in. We talked about that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is another thing, which is sort of making a list. Again, we do love lists. Making a list of your values, of who you are, of I believe. You can start the page with I believe ... and then start to write all the things that you believe. Like, again, it can be pretty much anything. I believe in, like my grandma's chicken soup. I believe in, in the healing power of my grandma's chicken soup. So anything, it just helps you, again, to remember, what are the things that I love in my life? What are the things that I value? What are the things that have helped create me, my life, my feelings, my values? And I'm sorry, Stephanie, I get also that the being tired and that the gratitude feels forced. And I'm so sorry. I think Nicole's right. So trying a few other things, trying to mix it up, maybe getting actually grounded and focused and quiet, like really, instead of just writing it down and and being in your head, sort of climb back into your body first. And maybe don't do a whole list. Maybe just pick one thing. And then when you pick it, really embody it, imagine it, go there as much as you can. And so that it doesn't feel so much like a writing exercise and more like a connecting exercise. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Something you don't write down or put on a bracelet or buy on a necklace, all these things. Although I know that you have intentional on your key.
I don't have, you know what? I took it off and it's upstairs, but every year I try to pick a word of the year and I try to make that be my theme. And this year it was intentional, to try and be more focused and more intentional, as in the decisions that I made. And so it's nice to have it on a key because I can touch it and and it will sort of be like, oh, right. It'll be like a little touchstone to remind me about how I want to show up.
Right. But I'm struck, through the book and our conversations about it, how much our minds are filled with so much other stuff other than ourselves, other than, being, happy and proud at what we've accomplished in our kids. And we're always just beating ourselves up, and saying, oh, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, you need to do this, you need to do that. And one thing that we talked about, you also said, be nice to yourself. So why is that so hard? I mean, why can't we just be nice to ourselves? And we're so nice to everybody else. Why can't we do it?
You know, I think particularly in this culture, we tend to go to the place of, you know, these Puritan values of that somehow that makes us soft, or, you know, we need to be tough and we need to work harder and we need to, you know, there's no time for that soft, tender stuff, which is just a load of crap. And it just goes to show you how deep those cultural biases, cultural beliefs are rooted. The other thing is that, again, because our brains are wired to make us be like, it's never good enough. We're never good enough.
Right.
We do go to that stuff, that nasty self-talk. And
Even if you had
thing.
like wonderful parents who are loving,
Yeah.
beautiful people. I mean, it's nothing that we were raised to, you know, under a whip or something, but it's just, I think it's just something, you know.
We do, but we can notice it. We all do it. Okay, so it happens all the time. And when we notice it, we can turn it around. And I think I wrote a blog post about this once where I was like looking for a parking space and there was one, but I thought I could find a better one. And I drove around the block and I couldn't, and I was late and I lost the one that I should have taken. And I remember saying to myself, "You're such an idiot." And then I laughed out loud because I was like, oh my, I mean, I would not say that to anybody. I wouldn't say it to a stranger. You know, and in my mind, I'm calling
I say it to strangers all the time.
You know, in the car, you might, but maybe not to their face, right? And so noticing it and dialing it back and actually using a kindness of self-compassion is so much more effective in helping us get to where we want to go than self-flagellation. Even though it feels counterintuitive, I really love the work of Kristen Neff. She literally wrote the book on self-compassion. I can't remember what her book is called, and I think she did a TED Talk as well. But I love her. I talk about her to my clients all the time because it's all about using the power of self-compassion. And Brené Brown, she talks about that too, about, you know, remembering that that's human beings, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and being kind to ourselves, even though it doesn't come naturally.
It doesn't. It is work. It's another job.
It is work. And while it might be another job, it is actually, it's one of the best jobs we can do, because not only is it helping us, it's helping everyone around us. It's helping our kids, you know, it's helping, it's be the light, right? Be the light you want in the world. You know, there's a million aphorisms out there, but it's true. The more you light yourself up, the more you're kind to yourself, the more you kind of radiate it out there.
So
and
two other things. And I don't mean to do a whole syllabus and a whole homework assignment thing, but we also talked about a personal manifesto and a stop doing list.
Yeah, a stop doing list is a great one. A personal manifesto is kind of along the same lines as the I believe list, right? So writing down what you believe and then turning it into, you know, what are the hard and fast things you want to go about your life doing? I mean, I think to have it there, like there's that thing behind me. It says, this is your life. Do what you love and do it often. If you don't like something, change it. If you don't like your job, quit. I mean, there's a lot. That's a manifesto. And so kind of taking your I believe list and turning it into like, what would you take from your I believe list and what would you tell your children or your nieces and nephews or whoever? How would you share your values to somebody else? So that's a personal manifesto. The stop doing list is another good one. I actually don't even, okay, so here we go. So I'll just tell you what I say about that. One example that it might be time to stop being a people pleaser, because as women, we have traditionally been taught to put everyone's needs in front of their own because that's what good girls, daughters, wives, mothers do. But you don't have to answer every little work-related text the second it dings in. I was telling Nicole, like, you don't have to do, I think my daughter's on this call, but one time, I think my daughter was a freshman in college and she called me and said, I forgot my favorite shorts. And it's this event and I really need them. And you need to FedEx me these shorts right away. And my initial response was, oh my God, I gotta go get the shorts. I gotta get the shorts in the mail to Lily right away. And the truth is I didn't. I could do it in my own sweet time. It might have had to wait till the next day. Then that would have been okay. I might even have said, Lily, look, I'm really sorry you don't have the shorts. I can't do that. I'm busy.
I would have done it for Miss Lil. You should. Lily, call me next time. I'll do it.
I did do it. I did do whatever it was. I think it was shorts. But we're just wired to do that. So what if we decided we were going to stop doing that? If we were going to stop putting everyone's needs ahead of our own, or maybe we would add to our stop doing list. I really want to consciously not complain. I've noticed that I'm complaining all the time. So I'm going to stop complaining. I'm going to allow myself to complain 3 times a day. And after that, I'm going to put the kibosh on it. Like, what do you want to stop? And it can be anything, you know. One of the things, and no, people don't like to hear this, but one of the ways that you age audaciously in your body is to cut back on the damn sugar. And, you know, it's in everything. It's everywhere. Refined sugar, I'm sorry, it really doesn't have any redeeming qualities other than the fact that, you know, it makes birthday cake taste good. But like, you have alternatives. So maybe your stop doing list is, I'm going to stop eating refined sugar. I'm going to find different alternatives. Whatever it is, you can, if that's seems like an easier way to start making changes, then reframe it in that way. Okay.
Is there anything that you want to be sure to say or get in before I go to some of the comments and questions in the chat?
I think I mainly just want to say that I want to remind everybody that aging is inevitable, but getting old is completely optional. We don't have to get old ever. We can feel young. We can think, as long as we're feeling and thinking young. Whereas you're as young as you feel and you're as young as you think. So aging, we want to age. Bring it on. Let's age as much as we can, but we don't ever have to feel old. There's always a possibility of change. I'm a huge advocate for reminding people that the possibilities for change are endless, and that when you show up for yourself, and if you need help, get a coach, get the book, do something. But if you want things to be different, then you need to do something different.
Okay. And P.S. the book makes a great.
And I also want to
Mother's
thank
Day
everybody
gift.
for coming.
No,
Yes.
we're not going yet.
We're not done. Okay, we're not done.
Oh, you wanted to just thank everybody? Is that the last thing?
I did want to thank everybody for coming before we do questions. And yes, Nicole, I mean,
Mother's Day, ask for it for Mother's Day. Do it. I'll say it. I have no shame. You know, absolutely. It would make a great Mother's Day gift. And they'll say, oh, but it says midlife. I don't want to insult you. Say, no, I'm asking you. It's called a gimme. You just go get what I want. And thank you very much. Do what I ask you to do, you bums.
You're even allowed to buy yourself a Mother's Day gift.
Yes,
and buy
exactly.
And you know what? Even though it says midlife, no crisis, and even though there's, you know, certain things that are specific to midlife, perhaps the hormonal part of it, there's a lot of great little tidbits in here for you for any age.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Oh, Nuria got the book for her. So happy Mother's Day, Nuria. I see you're just saying you got the book for yourself as a gift. Yay. Awesome. I know, goodness, there's a lot of things in here and I had missed all the chat.
It's good. So Kim wanted to know any examples of 50 plus women, not celebrities, who transform themselves that you admire.
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, my mom totally transformed herself in her 40s, and I admire her. She was a total role model. I would have to think about that a little bit. What did she do, honey?
How did she transform herself?
Well, you know, she was raised to be a good wife and a good girl. And when she and my father split up, she was in her 40s. Oh, there's my mom. And when she was in her 40s, she went out and struck it out on her own and reinvented herself. And you're welcome, Mama. And she has been a role model ever since. I mean, she completely reinvented, you know, she went back to work. She became like, you know, a modern woman, in my opinion, versus where she had come from. So that was pretty awesome. That is an excellent question on who my role models are. And as far as not being celebrities, I don't know. Well, Martha Beck, but I guess she's, you know, is she a celebrity? I guess she might be. I don't know. I have to think
Martha
about
Beck?
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure, Martha Beck. That I don't know. I'm coming up with celebrities, right? But right. I got to think about it for sure. Okay. I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. Let's see. There was another question from a certain person. From a certain person that you're married to, how have your dreams and goals changed throughout your life? That's a good question. How have your dreams and goals changed throughout your life? Thank you, Eddie.
I think that my dreams and goals have changed because, again, it's that way of going back and looking at your bucket list and noticing, either I can check that off or I don't really want to do that anymore. I think the more you grow as a person, the more your dreams and goals change, and the more you recognize that you can do hard things. Like the more I realize that I am a resilient person, that I have done hard things, then I have a different lens to look at my goals. One thing I will say that's kind of cool is that writing, I think I called it a life list. I did this like in my 20s, I wrote a life list and I wrote all the things I wanted in my life. And then I folded it up and I stuck it in a book or something. And I came across it probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And everything on that list had actually occurred, except for, I didn't own a yacht and I wasn't yet a philanthropist, but pretty much everything else on the list had happened. And I think it's important to write down your dreams and goals as opposed to just keeping them rattling around in your head, because once you put them out there, once they're concrete and they're actually, you can see them, that's how you can start putting more energy into them and actually manifesting them.
Even now.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely,
I also think
forever.
it's important just to be open to things. I think one of the other great parts about being older is that you have some things that are just settled in your mind. And I loved how you said, you know what you like, you know what you don't like. The people in your life are only there because you're allowing them to be. And I find that with so much settled behind me and beneath me, I'm able to kind of look around and say, oh, this is cool, or meet somebody different, or try a different path down at the park and walking. And, I think this is a nice time of life to be just open to more things in the world. Does that make any sense?
That can happen. It totally does. Like,
Yeah.
I think a couple of years ago, I took an improv class, not for any reason other than it was something that I thought I should probably try to do that. Like that could be cool, to be responsive in the moment. And so I did, and I liked it. I didn't want to go farther with it, but it was cool. And another thing I did was I joined a local theater group with the Woodland Park Players.
Oh,
Shout
that's
out to the
right. I
Woodland Park Players.
remember. Yeah.
And I got to be, relive that fantasy of being in a musical. And I got to be on stage in Guys and Dolls and Anything Goes. And it was so much fun. I don't know if I'll do it again. I might not, but it's like, I didn't talk myself out of it.
Right.
I let it be. I was able to be imperfect and still love it. It was great.
So there was a person inside of you that wanted to do it. There was a person inside of you that was saying, well,
Yeah.
But I think that the one who wants you to do things is louder right now. So.
Yeah. Here's Allie.
Hi, I'm sorry to reappear. I just wanted to make sure that you guys are seeing the Q&A box that is blowing up with questions over here.
Oh, I'm looking at the chat.
I know.
Okay.
Which is a good place to look too. But I just wanted to make sure.
I'll share you. Thanks for that heads up.
I'm sorry. So, here we go. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry, everyone. We have time. It's 10 up. We're in good shape.
Marie, I'm only 62. I'm super active, a healthy eater. So osteoporosis. So that is really common, and that's the kind of thing that you can make a difference with, specifically with weight-bearing exercise and what you eat, which is the standard treatment, but that is a very effective treatment. And I would say, yeah, that's something you should definitely talk to your practitioner about. But for sure, there are, I don't know if you can necessarily turn it around, but you can start to halt it a little bit, and so that it doesn't go as quickly. So Stephanie talks about the difficulties and how we get past them by the pandemic in living an audacious life. Yeah, our audacious plans have definitely been thwarted. Where to start when nothing is the same and the lights. Well, I think at that point, putting the pandemic created some serious boundaries that we could do nothing about. So yes, some of those plans have to go on the back burner. But remembering that whole idea about how you want to feel, what can you do to feel the way you want to feel? So given the parameters, how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel free? And it's hard to feel free when you can't do all the things you were going to do, but what can you do to feel free, even within the confines of a pandemic, and to start to do whatever you need to do to feel what you want to feel? It is hard to have the energy to start over. So I would say, don't look at it that way. Look at it as, how do I want to feel today? And start small. And I'll answer some of these, they're going to absolutely be short answers because a lot of these questions would be, like we could coach around them. Diet and body. Yeah, women always do this. Well, that is a large question about body image that we could, dive deeply into. I think that we are under so much pressure, particularly as women, to try to please. I don't even know who it is. Again, it's those cultural beliefs, these cultural editors that are telling us how we're supposed to be. And you're 100% right. Fortunately, in this day and age, there's so much body positivity out there. There's so many people to follow on social media or follow as role models who can help remind us that it's not about our bodies, it's about how we feel. And so, we get stuck in this place. It is so true. How do I feel about social media? I feel like when it makes me feel like like I'm slipping into compare and despair, then I need to hop off. But if I'm on it and I'm noticing, wow, I'm feeling really inspired by that, or, oh, I should try that, then I'm okay with it. It can be a time suck though. And the minute it starts to, I start to be just scrolling and doom scrolling, as they say, then I have to try to remind myself to get out.
One person is asking that you read the questions because they want to hear just what you're answering, what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Well, that was how do you feel about social media? So Monica Clement says, this is wisdom from a 69-year-old to midlife women. I live in a retirement community and my friends and neighbors here are older than I am. What I see is that the most important thing you can do for yourself now in your life is to make a strong body for yourself. Flex, work on core strength, cardio, start now, repeat every day. Don't even think about what your weight is. Be strong. Amen, Monica. That is so true. Move every day is on my list of how to age audaciously. Arden says, what do you do when you're really struggling with the decision, especially a life-changing decision? So that is also a bigger discussion, but that involves, I think, climbing back into your body, because again, your body, your mind will tell you all kinds of stories about shoulds and need tos, but your body will never really lie to you. And so you can actually read about I don't remember if I talk about the body compass in my book, but it comes from Martha Beck. She talks about the body compass and learning, and I teach my clients this, how to calibrate your body compass so that you can check in with your body and you can start to use your body as a tool to help you figure out what the right direction is, what the right step in the right direction. Lisa says, I love the idea of metamorphosis. Can you talk about how actively one needs to decide what to metamorphosize into versus allowing the new reality to emerge? I'm a driver usually, but wondering how much I need to actually approach this differently. So it's not active. It's not active, especially during the meltdown. It's passive. You're letting the meltdown happen. As you're in the reforming, as you're in the metamorphosis, that's when it's called dreaming and scheming, that particular phase, because that's when you're starting to pay attention to the information that wants to be heard. And again, that's the exciting phase, an exciting phase. It can also be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but it's less about doing and more about paying attention to what wants to be heard and seen and felt, if that makes sense. Julia says, I collect inspirational quotes from various sources. These quotes keep me grounded. Do you ever suggest using sources like this to your clients? All the time. Oh my God, I'm sure I have clients on this call who will tell you, who will testify that I've given them multiple quotes. And that's one of the reasons that the book has so many meaningful quotes in it. For sure, there's so many. Yeah, I think I'm all about that, Julia. Simone says, what do you do to both support younger women and also share that you still have experience, knowledge, and value? Sometimes it feels like there's an invisibility cloak that comes with middle age. That is true. I think that just showing up,
which is why you wear yoga pants all day.
Say what now? Which
is why you can wear yoga pants all day and go to the store in your pajamas, because nobody sees you sometimes, right?
That is true. I think having those relationships with people of all ages is really important, with people that are younger and that people that are older. And the way that you can sort of show and teach that is by really having conversations and talking about it and showing up. And, I'm answering this quickly and maybe I'm not going in depth, but yeah, sometimes it does feel like there's an invisibility cloak that comes with middle age. But I would say the more you continue to show up for yourself, the more you'll continue to show up in general. Dr. Maura Conlon McIver says, during the pandemic, have you found people are looking for a coach more than ever? Challenging sometimes. It's challenging to do everything as one's own cheerleader. How has it been to be a coach during this time? Well, yes and no. I think that because income has changed a lot, that not everybody was coming to coaching. But yeah, it is hard to be your own cheerleader. So I highly recommend getting somebody that can help you. I have a coach. Get the book. That's a good step. Okay, there's a question for Nicole. It says, Nicole, I found out you've left the Times. Best to you. You will be missed greatly.
Thank you.
Okay, taking the example, if you don't like your job, quit. It seems this assumes somebody else in your life is paying the mortgage and the bill, or changing careers in midlife. What about the practicalities of supporting yourself if you're single? If I switched jobs and started over in a new career, I couldn't pay my mortgage. Does your book get into the practicalities like that, or is advice given from the perspective of foundation of privilege? Well, that's a really good question. The book really doesn't get into that. When I coach somebody, I do get into that. And sometimes the practical advice is not to leave your job if you don't like it. Sometimes the practical advice is to continue to work at the job that you need to pay your bills, but to make sure that you're doing other things that fill you up, that feed your soul. And then ultimately, if you do want to change your job, you start to pay attention to, again, what other things you can do and how you can morph and change. So yeah, you're right. Everybody's in a different situation, but that's something I would dive into in a coaching situation. Are you aware of any midlife scholarships or midlife supports that could help people who are wanting to make a change and are finding it cost prohibitive? Gosh, and thanks, Nicole. I don't. I wish I did. That's an awesome question, and I think worth exploring. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Well, boy, maybe Melinda Gates and Mackenzie Bezos can do that now, because they're starting over, or they're starting off and venturing into new lives, and yay them.
But they're all set up. True.
Yeah.
Maybe they can help. Maybe they can help some sisters out. Sue says, how do you let go of old dreams and goals without sadness? Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you need to feel the sadness and feel it, but don't get lost in it. I would say make sure you're giving yourself the right amount of time to grieve the sadness of those goals and dreams, and before you start to create new ones. Erica says, I have
told to say Melinda French. I guess she's Melinda French now.
Well,
sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
Erica says, I have a favorite video that I watch when I feel like I'm in a rut. Sean Anchor. Do you have a go-to activity to help shake up your mindset? I have a couple, but one of my favorites is putting in my AirPods and having like a little dance party in my living room, because movement really helps me switch gears. And so like in the beginning, first few months of the pandemic, I did it all damn time. Like my husband used to come up and see me like dancing in the living room and singing, but you couldn't hear the music, and he would just kind of roll his eyes and go down. But that really helps, moving my body and music, those two things. That's kind of my go-to. Teresa says, how do you manage your thoughts and feelings around politics? I get so upset by what people say and do. Dude, it's really hard not to sometimes, especially after what we've all been through the last 4 years. I mean, it was such a contentious time for everybody. How do I manage my thoughts and feelings? Well, I notice that if it's starting to really make me feel clenched, then I will back it up and to remind myself that there's probably nothing I can do to fix that right now, but what I can do is fix how I'm feeling. I do have, we do have some people in our family who don't believe in the same things that we do politically. And so we avoid having those conversations as much as we can. And certainly with people who aren't your family, it's a little bit easier to turn off the channel. I say get off Twitter, is one way. And I've been off Twitter a lot more since November, since January rather, and it's been such a relief. And the last question is, how do you deal with it when your body isn't cooperating with all the activity you want to do? I feel like it's keeping me from living as audaciously as I would like. Oh God, I feel ya. that can be really hard. I mean, that happened to me a couple years ago when I was hiking with my friend Cheryl, and I slipped and sprained my ankle, and I couldn't do half the things I wanted to do. So first thing is be nice to yourself, give yourself a break, because if you can't physically, walk around or exercise, you can't. And if you try to do it before you're ready, then you're going to end up messing yourself up even more. So I would say on a physical level, can you get into a sauna? Can you take hot? Can you sweat? Can you start to like lymphatically move things around? There are things you can do, dry brushing, anything to kind of get your lymphatic system going, and drink a ton of water and just keep things moving internally, and the main thing is just to be nice to yourself. You're in that cocoon, right? Like if you are considering yourself like you're active, and all of a sudden that part of your identity isn't showing up for yourself anymore, then it's like, it's okay. Think of it as a little vacation and do a bunch of other stuff that you would really want to do, but you think you never have time to do, that, when you normally would have been running or doing, lifting weights, you now have time to do these other things. Like flip it around and look for the good. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, that was.
I see.
That's like a lightning round, my friend.
I know. Sorry, I didn't read the initial ones, and I look at all these wonderful comments and all these people that I would love to say hi to.
That'll be there for you to read later if you like.
Okay, awesome.
Look, it'll still be there.
Terrific.
Allie is coming on, I think, to kick us out of here. I just want to say again, I'm so proud of you, Lisa.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful book. It's a kind book. It's a helpful book. It's a great gift. So be sure to ask for it. And thank you everybody for coming. And it's just been a really fast time. Time flew.
Yes. Thank you.
Crazy.
And thank you, Allie, for having us. Nick, thanks so much for leading this conversation. And thanks to everybody who showed up. It's been my pleasure. And yes, go buy the book, buy it for yourself for Mother's Day, buy it for your mother, buy it for your friend who's a mother, or even if it's not, even if you're not a mother, buy it. It's good.
Good night, everybody.
Right. Yes, good night. They took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you so much for everyone for being here, for coming in. This was such a wonderful event to be a fly on the wall for. I loved listening to all of this great advice. Everyone, come on in and buy the book. I put the link in the chat. It'll be in there. You just got to scroll up a little bit. And we appreciate so much that everyone was here. And I think at this point, we say good evening and let the awkward waving commence.
Okay,
Yay.
can I do, I'm just going to take a picture of us holding.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget to share it with me. Yay.
Okay, honey.
Yeah,
All
tag
right.
us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks again. All right, take care.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.